Everyone thinks America's military dominance is about faster jets and secret weapons, but the truth is far stranger. United States bombers can hit anywhere on Earth within hours, not because of raw speed or technology, but because, for over a century, Washington quietly built a worldwide network of bases and refueling points. While rivals like China and Russia remain trapped by geography and frozen ports, the United States has turned the globe itself into an arsenal, weaponizing distance so thoroughly they can strike, refuel, and vanish before an adversary ever gets off the ground. How did these forgotten land deals and invisible outposts turn America into a power no missile can reach? In 1867, Secretary of State William Seward signed off on the purchase of Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. Newspapers mocked it as Seward's folly, a frozen wasteland bought for less than the price of a city block in Manhattan. Yet that single deal handed the United States a landmass larger than Texas, with a coastline facing both the Pacific and the Arctic, geography that would one day put American bombers within reach of Moscow and Beijing. Less than a decade later, Washington struck another quiet bargain. The 1875 Reciprocity Treaty with the Kingdom of Hawaii was billed as a sugar deal, but it included a clause granting the United States exclusive access to a remote lagoon, Pearl Harbor. At the time, few saw the military value. That harbor would become the anchor for American power in the Pacific, decades before anyone dreamed of aircraft carriers or nuclear submarines. The final piece fell into place in 1898, when the Spanish-American War delivered Guam, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico. Suddenly, the United States held stepping stones across both oceans. None of these decisions looked like empire building in the moment, yet each one planted a flag on a future runway, a fuel depot, or a launch point. What seemed accidental at the time now forms the backbone of a global system, one that would let America reach farther, faster, and with more certainty than any rival in modern history. Guam, a remote outpost in the Western Pacific, now stands as the linchpin of American power projection. Its runways stretch over 13,000 feet, long enough to launch fully loaded B-52 bombers, B-2 stealth aircraft, or the next generation of stealth bombers at a moment's notice. Fuel storage tanks on the island hold more than 20 million gallons, enough to keep hundreds of aircraft in the air for days. In times of crisis, Guam's airfields can surge from a peacetime footprint of about 100 aircraft to over 400, transforming the island into a floating airbase capable of supporting major operations across Asia. Diego Garcia, a narrow atoll in the Indian Ocean, sits at the crossroads of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. Its 12,000-foot runway is reinforced to handle the world's heaviest bombers, while climate-controlled hangars protect the sensitive coatings of B-2 stealth aircraft. Prepositioned fuel and munitions allow Diego Garcia to serve as a launch pad for strikes deep into Eurasia, bypassing the choke points that constrain rivals. Far to the north, Thule Space Base in Greenland operates at the edge of the Arctic Circle. Its 10,000-foot runway remains open year-round, supporting B-52s and C-5 Galaxy cargo aircraft even in sub-zero weather. From Thule, American aircraft can reach across the pole, cutting hours off flights to Europe or Asia. The base sits at the literal top of the world. Keflavik in Iceland closes the distance between North America and Europe. The flight from New York to Lithuania is over 4,000 miles, but from Keflavik it is less than half that. These bases are not relics, they are engineered shortcuts, shrinking the world and placing any target within operational reach. Aerial refueling turns the limits of geography into an afterthought. At the heart of this system is a fleet of specialized tanker aircraft, most often the KC-135 Stratotanker and the newer KC-46 Pegasus. These giants carry tens of thousands of gallons of jet fuel, acting as flying gas stations for bombers, fighters, and cargo planes. The process itself is a highest-stakes ballet at 30,000 feet. A tanker and a receiver aircraft close in until they are just yards apart, moving at hundreds of miles per hour. The refueling boom, a rigid telescoping tube operated by a crew member in the tanker's tail, locks onto a receptacle on the receiving plane. For aircraft using a probe and drogue system, a hose trails behind the tanker and ends in a basket that the receiver's probe must catch. Either way, Fuel flows at up to 1,000 gallons per minute, keeping the mission alive without ever touching down. This choreography can play out over oceans, deserts, or even contested airspace. Tanker crews must maintain perfect alignment, adjusting for turbulence and weather, all while monitoring fuel transfer and communications. The impact is dramatic. With mid-air refueling, bombers like the B-2 can stay airborne for over 40 hours, reaching any target on the planet and returning home in a single seamless operation. Without this airborne lifeline, the world's longest runways and largest fuel depots would be little more than static outposts. With it, the entire globe becomes accessible, one refueling at a time. A single B-2 bomber, call sign Spirit of Missouri, lifted off from White Man Air Force Base in Missouri on October 7, 2001. Its mission was to strike Taliban targets in Afghanistan, then return home without ever touching down. The crew spent more than 44 hours in the air, crossing half the planet. 11 aerial refuelings kept the bomber aloft, each one a high-wire act above the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, and hostile territory. As intelligence poured in mid-flight, the crew reprogrammed most of their targets, adapting to the shifting battlefield in real time. By the time they landed, they had circled the globe and shattered endurance records, proving that American bombers could hit anywhere, anytime, and vanish before an enemy could respond. That was not a one-off feat. In later operations, strike packages grew from lone bombers to orchestras of steel and fuel. Missions like the Iran contingency rehearsals saw B-2 bombers launching from Diego Garcia, linking up with tankers in the Indian Ocean, and joining waves of B-52s crossing the Atlantic. At the peak, 52 tankers and 125 aircraft moved in concert, each one assigned a precise role in the choreography. Not a single plane was lost to enemy fire. Every bomber returned to base. These exercises were not just technical marvels, they were live demonstrations that American reach is practical and scalable in real-world combat conditions. Legal agreements shape the reality of American power abroad. The United States holds formal defense pacts with 51 countries, each one a contract that turns signatures into access. These treaties and status of forces agreements define exactly where American troops can go, what laws apply, and who holds jurisdiction in a crisis. Some, like the NATO Status of Forces Agreement signed in 1951, cover entire continents and grant U.S. forces the right to move equipment, land aircraft, and pre-position supplies across Europe without renegotiation for every operation. Bilateral agreements with countries like Japan and South Korea lay out the rules for bases, taxes, and even criminal cases involving service members. These documents are not just diplomatic paperwork. They are the foundation that transforms foreign soil into operational launch pads, making logistics as predictable as flight schedules. 85,000 American troops are stationed across Europe, spread from the forests of Poland to the runways of Ramstein in Germany. Their presence turns alliance agreements into tangible power, runways are kept ready, fuel stores are topped off, and equipment is pre-positioned for rapid deployment. In a crisis, these forces are not just a tripwire, they are the backbone of NATO's deterrence, making any hostile move against an ally a direct confrontation with the United States. The scale of this footprint changes the calculus for adversaries. Instead of wondering if America will arrive in time, they face a reality where U.S. forces are already on the ground, integrated into local defenses and able to surge reinforcements within hours. This forward presence is not just about defending allies. It is about maintaining the network that underpins American global reach, ensuring that any threat to the alliance is met with immediate, coordinated power. Global reach, not speed, remains the force that shapes every major crisis today. As rivals rush to build influence, no nation matches the United States' ability to strike, supply, and return, anywhere, anytime. The world's balance still pivots on logistics, not headlines. Power, it turns out, is always in position.